All right, Mujin, let's go.
Meet Jiankui He, a Chinese scientist who had created a genetically modified baby, breaking every ethical law regarding genetic research and being sentenced to jail for 3 years back in 2019.
Jesus
After being
Christ, bro.
released, he would somewhat
Put down
disappear
your
for a
fucking
while
microphone
until
levels.
he got access to social media, most namely Twitter. And in classic supervillain fashion, he would tweet out, "Every pioneer or prophet must suffer while staring intently at the camera," all while continuing his genetic research like nothing had happened. This would, of course, make him go viral, but what were people's reactions here? Were they shocked? Were they outraged? Were they scared? No, they kept spamming him, pestering him even, with one request. Eventually, there will be so many people requesting the same thing that
Cat
he had to
girls?
make an entire post responding to it, saying, "Stop asking for cat girls. I'm trying to cure disease." This dude was sentenced to jail for creating genetically modified babies and forging the ethical paperwork. But the only thing people were concerned with was cat girls. Yeah, I mean, it comes as no surprise, guys. Anime girls have taken over the world. But look, if the movie Ratatouille has taught me anything in life, it's that things are better when combined together. And so some of the most intelligent people on planet Earth saw cats and thought, wow, this is really cute and adorable, like anime girls. Why don't we combine them and create cat girls? The result? A massive success.
Well,
This, of
hell yeah,
course, made
dude.
even more people think, until a particular group of people came up with a very interesting idea. They thought, well, look, humans love cats, right? I'm sure they love dogs too, but what's one animal that's been with us since the beginning? An animal humans share a very important bond with: horses.
I was gonna say sharks. Probably sharks or crocodiles. I don't remember who is the oldest. I think the oldest, I believe, is it's either crocodiles or sharks. I cannot remember which one it is. I think it's crocodiles. I think they're like the oldest, I believe.
So listen to this genius idea, right? What if we took anime girls and gave them horse ears and horse tails? Then we would put all these cute anime horse girls together on a track and have them race just like horses do during horse races. But get this, okay? Things don't end here, because these horse girls are living a double life. When they're not racing on the horse track, they're idols, dancing and singing in top tier performances to a massive audience. Sounds absolutely insane, right? I mean, seriously, horse girls, anime horse girls racing on a track. You've got to be shitting me, man. The concept of gacha games is already niche, and horse girls in a gacha game, you won't find anyone to
Okay,
play.
first of all, gacha games are not a niche. Okay, isn't niche supposed to mean like it's a small thing? No, it isn't. Gacha games is a $1 billion industry. That's not niche. Okay, it's like saying it's like saying Elon Musk, his company is niche. It's like, no, it's not. It's massive. Okay.
Play this. Nope, I was severely wrong. Look at this chart just on Steam, with a peak of 87,000 people playing at the same time. That's not all though. The game hasn't even been out for 1 month globally and has already reached over 1 million downloads on the Google Play Store. Still not surprised? The game has gotten so popular on Steam that it has beaten every single game on the platform to claim the #1 spot for most downloaded games in this current period. Now you might be thinking,
I mean, to be honest with you, PUBG, Destiny 2, Counter Strike 2, you're talking about games that have been out for like more than like almost 10 years now. PUBG's been out for like what? I think for like 9 years or 8 years. Destiny 2, I think almost 10 years now. Counter Strike 2. Well, technically, Counter Strike 2, yes, it is the sequel, Counter Strike. Uh, but still, everyone pretty much, it was literally a migration to Counter Strike. So, I mean, I'm just saying, yeah.
okay, fine, maybe it's like this mass hysteria going on. Maybe this concept is so ridiculous people downloaded it, but then realized, it's not really for me, right? Look at these reviews. 94% very positive, with almost 15,000 reviews on Steam. This game didn't just get downloaded a lot, it's now critically acclaimed. But if you're still
I mean, let's be honest with, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Even Steam reviews can be bought. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying.
somehow not shocked yet, well, get this. Gacha games are typically liked by a very specific demographic, young adults
Oh
who
yeah.
usually love anime. When it came to this horse girl gacha racing game though, it reached children, their parents, and their grandparents, doing the impossible and targeting every single conceivable demographic. Guys, it doesn't matter where you go, the metro, the airport, your office, you will most likely see someone playing this on their phone. I say this with no exaggeration. Umamusume Pretty Derby has taken over the planet, and I haven't seen a gacha game do this since Genshin Impact back during the pandemic. But if this still doesn't shock you for whatever reason, then get ready to get sucker punched in the face, because that's exactly what happened to me when I started seeing headlines like this. Umamusume developer Cygames is a title sponsor for Grand Prix de Paris, a prestigious horse racing event founded in 1863. An event being held for almost 2 centuries. And their logo just happens to be on an image of an anime girl that is also a horse. What the fuck is going on? And how did we get here? Well, none of it was straightforward, and this game almost failed to release. Umamusume Pretty Derby has a somewhat chaotic but also very interesting history. And seeing how it's practically dominated the world, I figured we need to talk about it. So let's do this. Man, horses are such silly animals, but you know what other animals I like? Warships, warplanes, and war tanks. Now, you know the drill. To really understand the significance of all this, we need context, and in this case, it's going to be a little history lesson. And we're going all the way back to the year 1603, the beginning of the Tokugawa period, otherwise known as the Edo period. This period would be the most traditional period in Japan, mostly because it would be incredibly isolated from the rest of the world. The people in power at the time feared outside influence. In fact, their biggest fear was Christianity. You'd have missionaries from European countries come in to spread the gospel, and people were converting fast. The Japanese leaders saw this as a way for Europe to slowly take control of Japan, so they took extreme measures. They completely locked down the country except for a select few traders who only had access to specific ports. Japanese people were not allowed to leave Japan, and if they did, they wouldn't be allowed back, and more importantly, Christianity was outlawed. The shogunate took extreme measures and massacred over 37,000 Japanese Christians, making it go almost extinct in Japan and ruling for over 2 centuries. This would all change in 1868, when the Tokugawa shogunate would lose its power and the Meiji Restoration would take its place. One could say that this period was the opposite of the Tokugawa shogunate's military rule, completely opening up the country, technologically advancing very quickly, and fully embracing the idea of an industrialized nation that can compete with Europe and North America. That way, they don't face the threat of colonization. During this new era, you start seeing more foreigners in Japan, like British and Americans, specifically around port towns. Their numbers would start becoming significant to the point where they'd start having their own communities built around those port towns. This is where, to kill time, Westerners would start playing the sports they knew, like rugby, cricket, and of course, baseball, which is now the most popular sport in Japan today. But according to the 500-page book titled Routledge Companion to Sports History, which outlines...
I always thought it was very interesting how in Japan, baseball is like their biggest it's like, I believe it's their biggest sport. I always thought that was pretty cool and pretty interesting too.
The origins of sports all around the world, horse racing in Japan was introduced as early as 1862 by those same Westerners, and within just 8 years, the first jockey club in Kobe was formed in 1870. You see, the Japanese, much like the rest of the world, also had a special connection to horses. They also loved the idea of entertainment, so they latched onto the sport very quickly, as you can see from this old drawing. Japanese people are on their horses about to race, but the people organizing it can be seen on the left here, and they're foreigners, they're Westerners. Today, it's seen as a prestigious sport, with the Japan Cup...
I like how they're riding a horses with like sabers on. They have full-on swords.
Having some of the highest prize pools on the planet, and the Japanese taking the sport very seriously, wanting to compete on even footing with foreign horses. Right now, the prize pool for the Japan Cup is about $8.3 million, with first place claiming $3.8 million. And even though horse racing was seen as such an important sport in Japan, there was a problem. Interest was kind of waning. When you go to a horse track, you'd mostly see men who are in the older demographics. You wouldn't see teenagers, young adults, kids, or even women that much. In a way, if things kept going this way, then the sport would have probably died out in a couple of generations. It was simply seen as too old-fashioned. But all of this would change when a particular studio came up with a ridiculous idea. An idea, actually, that almost ruined their company's reputation and potentially could have bankrupted them. I'm of course talking about Umamusume Pretty Derby. CyberAgent is a Japanese company that was founded in 1998. They started out as a digital advertising company, but in 2011, they decided to expand in the ever-growing video game market. This is when they would create Cygames, a video game development studio. CyberAgent would own the majority of the shares of Cygames, but sell a few to other companies, like for example, Nintendo, who owns 5% of Cygames. They would go on to create some pretty well-received games, like Shadowverse, a digital collectible card game, and of course, Grand Blue Fantasy, which was critically acclaimed. But arguably, Cygames' most important game would end up being one of the first ones they'd ever release in 2011, titled The Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. This game would be a part of the massive franchise known as The Idolmaster, owned by Bandai Namco, with the first ever game coming out.
They had whole arcade machines like this? Bro, what is the point of making an arcade machine for visual novel games?
In 2005. Many games for this franchise would release, and in 2011, that's when Cygames would release The Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. They made this on behalf of Bandai Namco. What was special about this game is that it was made for mobile phones back in 2011. Namco was seeing the rise of mobile games, and so that's when they asked Cygames to help. The premise was simple. You'd collect a bunch of idol girls and you would train them, raising their stats through lessons. You would then be able to do a number of things, like customize their outfits.
Dude,
and
this looks like a 2010 game.
Money on cosmetics. There would also be many different minigames.
Actually, no. I'll be honest with you. This looks like a game that would definitely come out today, 100%.
Including a multiplayer game mode where you can fight other players. The player with the most stats wins. Overall, it was simple, but extremely successful. This game was earning more than 1 billion yen a month. Back then, that was around $13 million. It was revealed that more than 75% of players who got the game chose to pay for either in-game items or energy in order to play more. And according to this article, in August 2012, the game had made 9 million USD, which is more than the cost of developing the game. This game was making more money monthly than it cost to make. And all it did was just feature a bunch of idols that you trained, up their stats, and got them different outfits. But you see, Bandai Namco was truly taking this franchise to the next level. It started as an arcade game, they made a mobile game, and they also made a manga as well as an anime that adapted that same manga. They were essentially using this franchise to build a media empire, and it was working very damn well. They would continue to hire more developers to create more entries in this franchise.
Hey man, what is it? People eat this shit up 100%, man. People are suckers. It is what it is, man. People are absolute suckers for things like this. Absolutely.
And the most recent release would be in 2020.
Wait, they have a sequel to the arcade for the Xbox 360. They have a 360 version of this. It says 2008. I think it's this one, the Idolmaster Live. What is it? Live for you, whatever it is. I think this is a 360 game.
24. So it's still doing pretty damn well. This is when Cygames would have some sort of an epiphany. Even though this was owned by Bandai Namco, they were the ones who made this extremely successful game. And I mean, it made sense. Why wouldn't a game like that be a success? The idol industry in Japan is probably one of the biggest, most successful industries in entertainment. It involved finding someone young with talent, absolutely destroying their lives with ridiculously rigid training and extremely unrealistic expectations, and once they get enough popularity, this is when you would milk their fans.
Dude, I'll be honest with you, I hate the idol industry. I hate it. It's just another way of like literally exploiting people for things like this. Absolutely. It's just learning some things about the idol industry, the way how it works and functions. I don't like it. I've always hated the way how it functions.
Hands with a bunch of different media and merchandise. People will do anything for their idols. They'll literally buy a photo album of them, okay? This is why the idol industry is such a money printing machine. But here's a fun fact for you. When it comes to horse racing in the West, certain jockeys, who are the horse riders, might have fans. Sure, the horses that they ride also might have fans, but it wasn't anything crazy. In Japan, on the other hand, the horses had fans, all right. They had their own merch. They were recognized by name. Some even had superstitions made around them. I mean, this is just a talent Japanese people have to idolize anything they like. And as much as this sounded ridiculous, there was big market potential here. Cygames had made a very successful idol game, and yet horse racing was a deeply historical aspect of Japanese culture while also having those same idol traits. You know what else is interesting? When it comes to entertainment, the idol industry is very profitable, sure, but one thing Japanese people love to do is gamble, baby.
They love gambling.
A Japanese person not knowing...
Hey man, this is the only part in Japan that isn't regulated, or at least regulated enough. Come on, Japanese government, you gotta regulate this shit more. But I mean, come on now, like same way how America doesn't regulate private owned islands. Let's be honest with you, they're never gonna regulate this shit. Fuck no.
Pachinko is like an American not knowing what a burger is. At this point, it's practically cultural. I mean, look, it goes without saying that horse racing was very popular in Japan because of the whole gambling aspect of it, and now you can gamble on a simulated horse race. It's not even real. And you place your bets on this spaceship-looking machine, bro. This looks insane. That's how much they love it. And finally, just like how idols and gambling are huge in the entertainment industry in Japan, we can't forget to talk about anime. And in the early 2000s, many artists were having the amazing idea of giving anime girls cat ears or just small animal features. Not to mention that there were already examples in media taking this a step further. Instead of giving them animal features, they would give them features of objects, like how the game Azur Lane has you collect these hot anime women that are meant to be World War II battleships. I'm not even joking, bro. Look, this woman's called Azuma, and she's part of the large cruiser category.
Yeah.
She's stationed in the camp Sakura Islands. This is meant to be a battleship, bro, like an actual boat. Do you understand? And man, does she have some big cannons, let me tell you that much. So I don't know who the genius at Cygames was, bro. It could be the CEO, it could be a producer. Someone had the—
Hey man, what is it? That I'll be honest with you, man. That's the reason why Japan is, they're grade A gooners. And here's the thing: they rather fall in love with anime girls than actually get with real people. That's the reason why they're a dying society. It explains a lot. It truly does.
the brilliant idea to sit everyone down and say, hey, what
And it's funny because when you really think about it, it's actually significantly more sadder than um when you see some of these things.
if we combined all these elements together, right? For the gambling, we make a gacha game. For the anthropomorphic cat girl part, we make horse girls. And for the idol part, we base them off the most famous horses in Japan, while also making them sing and dance, because why not? Now, be honest, if you were one of those people listening to this pitch, would you have signed off on this? Because it obviously sounds ridiculous, right? Most people probably—
Honestly, I think I would have done it, knowing that how many people would eat this shit up. Like gacha players. Oh, absolutely, man. The gacha players are like the biggest suckers in gaming. They are the biggest suckers. I'll be honest with you. If loot boxes, well, technically it is a thing. Technically, with the rolls and everything, that's practically loot boxes. But if loot boxes were still around and big fad as they were before, if they're available right now still, loot boxes would be still it would absolutely be the number one seller for microtransactions. Absolutely, to this day, if it was still massively labeled like that. Technically, polls and things like that. That's technically loot boxes, but yeah, it's still the same thing, but just worded differently.
wouldn't have. But Cygames had top-tier drugs in their office because you know what? They said yes. They then wasted no time getting started on developing the game, revealing it for the first time on the 21st of August 2016 at the Anime Japan Expo. Excitement for this game was actually already starting to build up, and that made more people want to know more details about Umamusume. So on January 2017, the main content producer of Cygames, Akihiro Ishihara, was asked a bunch of different questions during an interview, and one of them was, please tell us about the development status. And he said, this game is about 25% complete. Keep that number in mind. But for now, this interview had also revealed many of the horse girl designs, as well as the famous horses they're based on. It seemed like they knew what they were doing. And they had learned their lessons with Bandai Namco. They were going the Idolmaster route, not just aiming to make one good game, they wanted to make a media empire around Umamusume. So just a couple months after that interview in March 2017, they released a manga. But they weren't done yet because they wanted to adapt this manga into an anime and were going to enlist the studio PA Works to do it. The plan was to release this anime in 2018 in parallel.
Oh yeah, dude. Knowing that, oh yeah, I recognize one of them, maybe two of them, but this one, I remember this one. This one was a pretty big anime. I think it was this one that I can remember. I don't recognize this one. She looks kind of familiar, but she looks pretty generic. So that could be any anime girl with brown hair. Uh, the others I have no idea.
To the game's release. That way both would help each other and they would start off with a strong symbiotic media empire. That was the plan, except nothing, and I mean nothing, in regards to release dates went according to plan. The Umamusume Pretty Derby anime would release on April 1st, 2018. It wasn't just limited to Japan, it had a simulcast with Crunchyroll in select regions of the world. It was almost an instant success. Similarly to how people love the idea of cat girls, the idea of horse girls was also very well received. But a couple of aspects that it was really praised for were, one, its attention to detail, and two, its very skilled world building.
Oh my god, look how long that phone is because how high up their ears are.
But we'll get to that later. Right now, there's a more pressing concern going on. As the anime was running, the game would release 3 more teasers on April 19th. It showcased a race, a live show, and a story/training section. I can't show you those videos because they've been privated, but overall, it seemed like everything was going according to plan, with the game scheduled to release around the end of 2018. This would be confirmed again on July 2018, with yet another trailer showing off the game and its mechanics, announcing at the end that it was going to release at the end of 2018. As people were waiting, wondering when the game was going to come out, Cygames took their sweet time and only announced on December 15th, 2018, literally the end of the year, that Umamusume Pretty Derby has been delayed in order to raise the game's quality, saying that they will reveal the new release period at a later date. I mean, okay, not a big deal. I mean, it would have been nice if you told us earlier, but one delay doesn't hurt, especially if the game's going to be better for it, right? Well, the game got delayed again in 2019.
Wow.
And the new release date was slated to be in 2020. Now, Cyber Agent is a
I'm gonna guess throughout that time they probably added more and more characters. 100%. I think that's probably what they did. Yeah, they added like more and more characters in the meantime.
Publicly listed company, and just like any publicly listed company, they would have shareholder meetings. So in their third quarter shareholder meeting in 2020, they re-emphasized to their investors that Umamusume Pretty Derby was going to be released in 2020, confirming that fact. Just a couple of months earlier, in May 2020, the managing director of Cygames confirmed yet again that Umamusume Pretty Derby was releasing in 2020. But then, we get to December 2020, and the game was nowhere to be found. But yet again, in the final shareholder meeting of the year on December 12th, investors will be told that this game is still on track to release in 2020, but there were 2 weeks left in the year. It was safe to say that after previous delays, people weren't just thinking, oh, this game's going to be delayed again. They were also thinking, is this game ever going to release? How can you say in an interview in the beginning of 2017 that the game's almost 25% done with a 2018 release date, and yet here we are 2 years later, barely able to make the release? Usually this means that the game has no direction, that Cygames is dealing with an internal disaster.
Yeah, I would think that would be very bad if the game was pretty much in that direction of like, oh yeah, what is it? It's getting, what is it? It's getting delayed again, and then practically again, and then you say, oh, it's gonna be released in 2020, and then it reaches all the way to the end of the year of 2020, and still nothing left. Yeah, absolutely, that would get me worried. Of course, I'd be like, what the hell's going on?
And what really reinforced this narrative is the fact that the game didn't even come out in 2020. We had reached 2021 and the game still had not released yet.
Oh, there you
it was
go. There it
only
is.
on February 24th, 2021 that the game had finally released in Japan. And while it was cool that the game had finally come out, people didn't really know whether to be excited or worried, especially with how Cyberpunk 2077 had released just a couple months earlier, and even though it's been delayed multiple times, had one of the worst launches in history. But you know what? As hard as it was to believe, this was not the case with Umamusume Pretty Derby. People were so addicted to the damn thing, they couldn't stop playing. The gameplay loop definitely took inspiration from their work on Idolmaster. Your horses, or horse anime girls, would have 5 different stats that you would train them on. You'd also have many different minigames and many ways to interact with your roster. You would then have your horse, or horse girl, race, competing against others in a bid to win first place. These races would make your heart beat like crazy because there was always a chance that one of the horse girls could use a special ability, including your own, like you're seeing right here. You could be losing a race, and then your horse will, all by themselves, decide to do this in order to win. It just depends on their mood and how you've treated them. One could even say that this was more exciting than IRL horse racing thanks to all these factors. But the game wasn't over with just one horse.
I'll be honest with you. When they if that's really the case, then I'll be honest with you, horse racing will die out. Like, and I don't mean like the sport of it will die out, because the only thing that would be people be interested in it is the video game version of it, and that's it. And I'll be honest with you, that kind of sucks, because the whole point of like participating or being participating like in these sports, or being part of it, being active in it or whatever, it's just that the sheer of like of like the interest of like the way how the person plays the sport. And imagine all of that being taken place by a person's or what is it, all that's being controlled by literally ones and zeros. It's like, I can understand that at the end of the day, like these games that you can't exactly take like too serious, because it doesn't mean like they're all going to be legitimate. I'm sorry to burst that bubble. That all a lot of these like real games, like boxing, baseball, and whatever, are going to be like full real. Because some of them are going to be rigged, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, these are labeled as entertainment, and entertainment can go as the way it wants to go. It's literally there in a fine print. They don't really have to disclose like, oh, this was all fake and all this. They don't really have to, because it's all there. You just had to read you just have to read it. But yeah, man. Um, and so could that go the same for horse races? Absolutely, absolutely. I highly believe so. Absolutely. So that's the reason why that so like I think something like this could absolutely uh could probably destroy the interest in the actual horse racing if people will rather play the games than actually go to the things themselves. Because at the end of the day, what's the whole point of having these horses and all that stuff if no one is going to be watching your things, having the stadiums and all that stuff? Because you got to remember, it costs a lot to maintain these stadiums for real. But anyway,
horse girl. Eventually, that horse girl would retire, just like IRL horses, kicking off the inheritance mechanic just like real life. Here's an example. This is the family tree of the very famous horse, Goldship. As you can see, this is probably more complex than my own family tree, and I'm a human. It rivals the family tree of like some royalty from the 1600s or something. This is all done with the goal of creating the most genetically engineered monster that can dominate any race. And that's what you kind of do in Umamusume as well. The hard work that you put into your now retired horse girl can now be incorporated into your new horse girl by using her as one of her.
hey man, I'll be honest with you. That system, if you really think about it, what is it? I mean, I don't know how it works, but I'm gonna assume that the way how it works is that it doesn't really mention what is it? You mixing with another horse, because so far it's been like you mixing with the horses. So I'm just saying, it says a lot.
Her coaches. So in a way, you also become more of a genetic scientist and try to create the perfect horse girl after many different runs. This gameplay loop was so addicting, it was like playing a civilization game, screaming one more turn as the police is confiscating your phone from you because you haven't eaten in 3 days. People couldn't stop playing it. But as this game became so popular in Japan, it started somewhat suffering from success, you could say. You see, usually, the people who own some of the best racehorses in the world happen to be some very wealthy and successful people. Seeing that Umamusume's characters are based on real-life horses, they had to go and ask each of these owners their permission to have them in the game. The owners agreed to do that free of charge, not charging any money. This was seen as a very cool and kind gesture from them.
But no, very, very dumb of them. Very dumb of them. Give royalties. Give royalties, absolutely retards. Give royalties. That's how you survive. Because I'm gonna tell you this much: at the end of the day, this sport will probably actually will die off, and the only thing people will be interested is the character, or of the character of that horse. I mean, I'm just saying, get those royalties. What the fuck are you doing? You stupid.
But here's the thing, these weren't just horses, these were anime girls that were in many cases pretty. And usually when you present Japan with a pretty anime girl, they will instinctively almost want to draw some pretty lewd fan art. That was a problem. Cygames knew it was a problem, so they created very specific fan-created content guidelines.
I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't care. I would not care. Who gives a fuck? Nigga, they're pixels. Who cares?
Outlining rules, saying you can't make fan art with the intent to injure the reputation of this franchise or other third parties. You can't do any loot stuff, you can't do any violent stuff. The owners of these horses did not want to see their horses participate in anything like that. It was a red line for them, but that didn't necessarily make people want to listen. Now of course, usually if you were to break these rules, Cygames would just send you a takedown notice and sue you if you don't comply. But of course, this would be too boring for a franchise like Umamusume. So some people came up with a rumor that now is regarded as truth in many different circles and has spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
If you draw any lewd art of Umamusume girls, the Yakuza will knock on your door and hurt you. Okay, so as far as I can tell, this all started with this stupid tweet. A Japanese person tweeted this out, saying, the reason why Japanese artists can't draw Umamusume porno art is that Umamusume is based on real racehorses and their owners are like mafia bosses who control the Japanese economy and we don't want to offend them. This was tweeted on March 11th, 2021. So very
If that's really the case, then that should be a problem. That should be a massive problem for your guys' society if that's really the case.
shortly after the game released. Now, I don't know how much attention this initial tweet got, but what really brought attention to this was the second tweet this person would make, saying, please retweet as much as you can for people overseas. It included that original tweet and another image, with that person saying, the content of the tweet and the image is complete bullshit. It is a falsehood that amounts to defamation of the racehorse owners. I have insulted the owners of racehorses and other people involved in horse racing, as well as the staff of the Umamusume project. Racehorse owners are people who are sincerely committed to the culture of horse racing. They are not involved in antisocial organizations. In addition, I tried to make overseas artists complicit in the prohibition of secondary works that significantly worsen.
And on top of that, like, I'll be honest with you, if I was an overseas artist, why would I care about this? Nigga, those are your laws and your rules. I don't have to abide by them, because you want to know why? Because none of that applies to me. Sorry.
In the image of the project, which is clearly stated in the official guidelines.
Hey man, what is it? What is it in your country? What is freedom of the press doesn't exist, or what is it? And free expression doesn't exist where you're at, but guess what? In America's, they exist, man. There's absolutely there's parody law, art law, and all that stuff. You could pretty much do practically whatever and not get in trouble. Oh well.
This is all due to my short-sightedness and arrogance. I would like to express my deepest apologies to everyone involved and to all those who have supported me. So this apology was definitely overkill to the initial tweet. It was clearly like some kind of a joke, I guess. It was almost like this person had, I don't know, murdered someone. This made people assume that this person got caught by the Yakuza and forced, right, at gunpoint to make this apology, because that's what it sounds like. As you can see here, the top comment is, "So they found you?" And the person said, "No, it's not. It's just that I made the wrong statement." Someone else said, "I'm guessing they gave you a call," to which this person said, "No, it doesn't." Someone said, "I'm sorry to hear that the racehorse mafia got to you. Had no idea Japan even had such an intense culture of racehorsing, let alone one run by gangsters." Then that person replied with, "Please don't tell us such bullshit."
Nigga, you're the one who implied it.
This person was so easy to troll, and this eventually got posted on Reddit, ironically saying, "Turns out old-fashioned Yakuza are alive and well in Japanese horse racing industry. They're sending goons to stop doujin artists from making drawings of Umamusume project characters." All of these events have resulted in this becoming a full-fledged meme. Whenever someone mentions, "Man, I'd love to draw these characters in lewd poses," someone always comes in and comments, "Hey man, you don't want to do that, the Yakuza's gonna get you." And while it's funny, it's gotten a lot of people to actually believe it, especially overseas. But the truth is that Yakuza doesn't own any of the horses, and that gambling is heavily regulated by the JRA, the Japanese Racing Association. So no, if you draw lewd art, the Yakuza aren't going to knock on your door, but you might get a DMCA notice from a lawyer. But regardless, Yakuza hiccups aside, this game was making bank. In 2021 alone, even though they released 1 month after the year had began, in February, they had made over $1 billion. And by March 2025, they had made a total of $2.5 billion since release. This is an insane amount of money, but what's even more insane is that 90% or more of its revenue came purely from Japan. Cygames had the Japanese population in its chokehold. And as I mentioned, these weren't just young adults. There will be endless stories of people going on the metro, going to a restaurant, going outside, and seeing someone way older than them or way younger than them playing this game on their phone. It became cultural. But here's the thing. Japan, even though open to the rest of the world, still has a very particular market. Just because something is successful there does not mean in any way that it'll be successful anywhere else, especially when it comes to the topic of gacha games. So when it came to finally launching the game globally on June 26, 2025, more than 4 years after launching it in Japan, people didn't really know what to expect. It was reasonable to think that it was going to just die out in a few months, with Japan continuing to be its main revenue source. Except what it did was inconceivable. It was absolutely dominating the Steam charts. As you saw in the intro, it became the #1 most downloaded game on Steam at some point, also becoming an instant success on mobile. But what's really interesting here is that it managed to recreate exactly what happened in Japan, but globally, which was not having a target demographic, reaching everyone equally. Here's a fun example. Northern Lion is a streamer who's 36 years old. He would not, in any way, be the target demographic of a game like Umamusume Pretty Derby. No way in hell. But his chat kept pestering him, "Please download the game, give it a shot, for the love of God, you'll love it." And eventually, he gave in. Now, Northern Lion is a pretty big streamer. He'll usually average around 15,000 viewers. But when he streamed Umamusume, he had reached his all-time peak of 40,000 live viewers. And you know what the craziest part is? He absolutely loved it, okay? He fell in love with the game, the characters, everything. He even had Japanese players seeing some of the reactions from Western players thinking, "Wow, we gotta up our game because these guys are way more passionate than us. Look at this."
Come on, Gold Ship, put it into high gear. I need all you got right now. The Kentucky Derby's on the line.
Oh my God.
It was, with no exaggeration, taking over the entire internet. And it showed in the stock price of
the least intense fan. Oh my God, yeah. The least intense, what is it? Yeah, the least intense race. Honestly, I think it could go crazier.
It was, with no exaggeration, taking over the entire internet. And it showed in the stock price of Cyber Agent, the parent company of Cygames, with its stock market price going up like crazy.
Absolutely.
But why is that? How is this game such a success, so highly rated, both in Japan and overseas? We've established that the game...
I think it's because it's just a very different and unique game. I think that's why people have a big interest in it. For sure, like 100%. But honestly, like, yeah, man, I mean, it's not surprising that people will have a large interest in this, especially if some, or at least like a lot of the demographic are heavily interested in like in Genshin, Zenless Zero, Azure Lane. What's the other one? I think Arc Knights and et cetera, et cetera. I think some of them will absolutely be I would be playing this game 100%, because I don't doubt some of them would be playing from one, one would playing pretty fairly would have a fairly similar circle, but if you stuck what is a Pretty Derby in the middle between all of them, they would absolutely be funneled to that one game ultimately.
gameplay loop is fun, sure, but there are a lot of
Yeah.
games like that. This isn't just a game at this point, it's a cultural phenomenon. So what was something that it did that other games weren't even close to achieving? Well, the horses. Alright, so remember how I mentioned that this game's anime was
The
praised for
horses.
having immense attention to detail and world building? Well, the game was very similar in that regard too. Seeing that all these anime horse girls were based on real life horses, Cygames did their homework and examined every single horse and its very specific personality, incorporating all these aspects into their anime character. But that's not all. When it comes to the world of Umamusume, many things in there were based on real life locations, like racetracks and areas around it. We're talking anything from train stations to the convenience store where the horse girls buy their carrots. This wasn't
I'll be honest with you, that's not all that common for many anime shows to do. They absolutely do this shit on the regular. I'm just saying. I know for some people they're like, "Oh, that's crazy." I'm like, not really, man. It's cool for sure, but nah, a lot of them do tend to do that. I'm just watching something.
just attention to detail. This was making landmarks out of IRL locations and attributing important history to them. Additionally, this world wasn't just made in like one evening. It made sense, and that's because its world building was very well made. Horse girls in this world are seen as a different type of species. They're treated as well as humans, there's no discrimination, and instead they have a real place in this world. With certain
I'll
gadgets
be honest with you, man. If this was real life society, they would absolutely get discriminated. Let's be honest, especially if it's Japan culture. These niggas want to act like they're that open. They're really not.
for example, made specifically for them. Look at this extremely long phone. It's to accommodate her horse ear and her mouth. I mean, look at this stupid seat right here. It's made specifically for horse girls so that they don't get uncomfortable with their tails. There's even historical landmarks in the anime, like how there are Moai statues on Easter Island with horse girls. They even took
That's
famous
funny.
Japanese horse racing paintings and converted them to accommodate the world. As you can see, these are horse girls racing here. So from a world point of view, this already made sense. The attention to detail was there. And so when it came to the actual personalities of each horse, guys, they couldn't have done a better job. For example, one of the most famous horses in Japanese racehorsing history is Goldship. This is a horse who ran 28 races and won 13 times. An incredible record.
Yeah.
But what really made Goldship famous is that he was an absolute diva with a ridiculously unique and rage-baiting personality. In 2015, Goldship had a total of 12 billion yen betted on him. People were confident that he
I
would
don't
win
know.
just like he
All
won
money
his
believe.
other races. What we got instead was the day known as the 12 billion yen incident, when he would do this. Watch.
ゴールドシップの3連覇かそれともタワーが待ったをかけるのかゴールドシップが立ち上がった
He would simply refuse to race. Everyone would go except him. He didn't care. He just didn't feel like it, and so he didn't race, losing people 12 billion yen in bets. Now, this is how Goldship would look in the game and in general in the Umamusume universe. They would recreate the same incident in the anime series. Watch.
負ける気がしねえ真似すんじゃねえよおっとゴールドシップとエスカールが出ない
And just so you know, they brought back the same exact woman who was casting that day to voice in the anime. Guys, the attention to detail.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, they went detailed as fuck for that. That's pretty. You know what? I'll be honest with you. That is pretty interesting. It did look pretty old, but they didn't look that old either.
Is ridiculous. So seeing that Goldship was an absolute diva, yet at the same time very skilled, Cygames made sure to incorporate that into Umamusume Pretty Derby. She'd be very skilled, very talented, and yet would have crazy mood swings, refusing to train, and sometimes, even though having the best stats, would just refuse to race, like they're not giving a single shit. This eccentric personality would so accurately be translated into the game that it would create a new overseas fan club for this IRL horse. I mean, look at this. This is a video of Goldship in retirement, literally just hanging out. It has over 2.2 million views. This is just a horse hanging out for 2 minutes, not doing anything except fooling around. That's how much of a sensation he became because of this game and his history. I mean, look, most people would have just stopped there and moved on to a different topic, but not with me, you won't. Goldship's personality wouldn't just end with him being a diva. He would also be one of the most successful breeders, with a successful mating rate of 99.1%, having over 500 children, with a few of them becoming absolute champions. In fact, according to some staff, after he would finish mating with a mare, she would then refuse to mate with anyone else but Goldship. That's just how good he is, man. But I guess it also explains why he enjoyed it so much. He would swing his cucumber from side to side because of how excited he was, okay? I know this is like a ridiculous amount of detail, but people look into this. That's how obsessed they are with Goldship. This isn't just because he was skilled or a massive diva, he was a rage baiter. Like the whole 12 billion yen incident, but also the fact that his trainers realized that, wait a second, in his retirement, he's running even faster than he used to run back when he was still a racehorse, making them realize that he never used his full potential while being a racehorse, almost as if on purpose to spite his trainers. This made people realize that horses aren't just creatures that we share a special connection with. They also have many unique and diverse personalities. Most people have a hard time seeing that though, because we don't really interact with horses that much anymore. So turning them into anime horse girls with proper world building around them made us finally appreciate their very deep and valuable personalities. And no one received more appreciation than the horse Haru Urara. You see, when she was young, she would go unsold at an auction. Seeing that no one wanted to buy her, she was entrusted to the cheapest race course to run in Japan. Her trainers thought that this would be a good chance for her to maybe win since she had a hard time training. But then she went on to lose 113 races in a row, never winning once.
Jesus Christ, dude, that's crazy. And because of that, she gained like a massive fan base. That's a crazy thing to think about.
However, when she had lost her 87th race in a row, the race announcer, Koji Hashiguchi, would be absolutely shocked at this statistic. He was like, dude, this like never happens. Most horses would have given up by now. They would have retired. So he sent her racing record to national media outlets thinking, dude, this is insane. Like, you got to talk about this. And they did, which made her ridiculously famous. People started going in droves to where she raced, the Kochi racecourse. The wives of the jockeys, the people who rode the horses, took advantage of this and started making merchandise. And get this, at a certain point, people would go to this racecourse just to bet on Haru Urara, knowing very well that they were going to lose, but they would love that because then they'd use that betting ticket as a protective charm for car accidents. They believed that it held special powers, bro. You understand what I'm talking about here? This horse had superstitions made around it. I mean, this was such a big boom that Haru Urara had single-handedly saved the Kochi racecourse from going bankrupt. They were able to pay off all their debts thanks to her. And today, as you can see, Haru Urara is painted on the side here. That's how much of a legend she is. Seeing that she's in the game of Umamusume Pretty Derby, this prompted both Japanese and global players to select her to try and give her the win that she so very deserved in real life, making her one of the most popular characters in the game. This renewed attention from the global audience with their love for Haru Urara eventually allowed them to find out that they can send gifts to her in her retirement because she's still alive. They could send her some premium ryegrass directly. They sent 2.7 tons of ryegrass. Usually one person could buy $40 worth, which is 5 kilograms. But people crashed the donation website, and now we're sitting at 2.7 tons. This is an image of this little cutie receiving her gifts, and it's prompted people to draw fan art of this phenomenon. I mean, look at how much ryegrass is in front of her. She has enough food until the end times. 2.7 tons, you're insane! In fact, thanks to this game and its renewed attention on these horses and their accomplishments, many of them who are now in retirement are receiving many donations, able to fully enjoy their older years. This is because this game didn't just make a lot of money and renew interest in horse racing, but it has single-handedly revitalized the entire horse racing industry globally, specifically in Japan. In the world of horse racing, sometimes, unfortunately, racehorses are not able to retire. This can happen for a number of reasons, but usually it's because there's not enough funding. Back when this game released in Japan, it fueled a movement of people donating to many of these famous retired horses, ensuring that they not only live a good life, but that they can continue to live in general. But retirement isn't fun if you just have money. It's also nice when you meet people, when you still interact socially. Many of these retired racehorses started receiving visitors, so much so that Umamusume had to release an official guideline on how to visit stables and what to do in order to be respectful. For famous horses such as Haru Urara or Goldship, visits sell out immediately as soon as they're posted. This has led some crazy, ridiculous fans to sneak onto the stable grounds sometimes just to see the horses, with Cygames completely denouncing that and saying you shouldn't do that, stop. But that wasn't all. Cygames was making a lot of money from this game, and they understood that there's a mutual benefit here. If horse racing thrives, they thrive too. And so the president of Cyber Agents, Susumu Fujita, has become a high roller when it comes to buying expensive horses and raising them for races, always being one of the leading buyers when it comes to horse auctions in Japan. So far, he has spent easily over $10 million making up his own fleet of racehorses, and he's not planning on stopping anytime soon. But this isn't just about Japan. This is about horse racing globally. In May of this year, they had announced a partnership with the 151st Kentucky Derby, the most watched and most attended horse race in the United States, taking place since the year 1875. And you had this anime girl horse racing game being their biggest sponsor. This also extends to Paris. As you saw in the intro, they're not just sponsoring the Grand Prix de Paris, but they're the main sponsor. And I mean, look, if you show me an image of horse racing, I probably would think, oh, cool. But if I was a young person and saw a poster like this, I think, whoa, whatever this is, I want this. Where can I get tickets? It's an extremely mutually beneficial partnership. Additionally, racehorsing merchandise has had a boom in Japan ever since the game had come out, truly turning this into an animal idol industry. These dolls, for example, they sell out like crazy. It's actually very hard to get them, especially if you're outside of Asia. Actually, I think they're keychains, but you get the point. Cygames was essentially making a lot of money from this, but they were using it for good things, making this industry a better place, helping treat retired horses even better, and in general, being a positive force in the community. This reminds me how at some point, Hoyoverse, the creators of Genshin Impact, had invested in a nuclear fusion reactor, and in 2024, it became operational. Who would have thought that you spending money on characters in a gacha game was going to end up somehow in a nuclear fusion reactor in Singapore? Overall, this industry is revived. It's bad. That's crazy. Audiences now feature women, young people, middle-aged people, demographics that horse racing usually wouldn't be able to reach. This has already been happening in Japan, and I'm sure it'll start happening globally thanks to this game. I can't help but laugh when I say this, but it's true. This anime girl horse racing gacha game has somehow been able to single-handedly revive this entire sport while somehow making the world a better place. It's crazy, but it's where we are today. I hope I was able to explain why this game took over the world and why it's continuing to, and I really appreciate you watching until the end. This is a fairly different video from what I usually do on my channel, but hey, I figured it would be fun. Now, the sponsor does want me to end this video with a message, so before I'll do that, I'll thank you again, say that I love you, and mwah, see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, you can get 100,000 Server Alliance, premium vehicles.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't care. That's crazy. Well, that's cool, you know. I mean, it's cool that people have an interest in it. For me, don't really care about it that much. But as I said, not really a big fan of gacha games. So, I mean, it is what it is.